Still, of course, a horrible form coming into this tie would get the victory at Wembley against England. For more on this, let's welcome in Julien, Aage, Fjortoft, Julien, Laurent. We're both watching this. We'll hear from them in a moment. But in the end, Craig, I think it's fair to say Brazil were good for their win.
Yep. And not, by far, not the strongest Brazilian side. And we were talking during the game, and I said, they don't really have that aura about them where you would fear them.
No.
You know, they don't, but yet England...
He talks about 1998, the opening game.
Well, and they're most fearsome.
Yes,
that's what it was.
So it's all back to him.
Well, no. Hold on. Let me set the record straight here, right? I mentioned they don't have the aura about them. And you brought up 98.
I don't remember that.
You said, unlike the team that you played against and others. I never mentioned it. Anyway, right? International week, you put me off already. So, yeah, I mean, look, we talked about this. The only one of any vintage, really, you could argue is Vinicius Junior. I mean, apart from that, it's kind of, you would call...
Bento making his debut in goal.
Yeah.
His makeshift back four.
But, yeah, I think they were good for the win. Their chances were more clear-cut, certainly in the first half. You saw a couple of those chances, plus the goal in the second half. If you're asking, and if we're talking about England as well, I would describe their performance to me as dull. Mm-hmm. Just dull. And deficiencies at the back that we've always known they're there and they're not going to go away. They're not going to go away before the Euros either, by the way. You know, and he's going to probably pick Harry Maguire, and his game time will be limited or whatever for Man United. But you have to feel sorry for some of these players. I feel sorry for Foden and Watkins in particular, but the front four in particular, because, you know, Ollie Watkins is maybe going up against... Ivan Toney for potentially a place in the squad. Maybe he'll take both of them as well as Kane. I don't know. But how much supply did they get up to that front line today? How many really good crosses did they get in the box? How many great passes did they play down the channels? And what Southgate is doing for me and has done for a while, and although they've had some decent results, he's taken the excitement and the flair, to me, out of some of these more attacking players. Now, we saw Anthony Gordon go on 1 or 2 runs and it was his debut and blah, blah, blah. But Phil Foden's a guy that's been lighting the Premier League up, right? He's going to be playing come rain or shine in the summer if he's fit. And yet, somehow England at times make him guarded. And that's down to the manager. And for me today, England were just... pedestrian, had a few pots.
Just explain that in a little more detail. How do they make him guarded?
Well, it doesn't seem to me as if there's the same flow and freedom that these players are allowed at their clubs. And I think that's something Southgate's been criticised for. Even when they've had, if we call it success, getting to a Euro final, getting to a World Cup semi-final, ultimately been outplayed and got tactically beaten by Croatia, and then obviously they got beat by Italy and penalties. But it just seems to me that the one thing that Southgate's always been criticised about is being overcautious. And I look at these guys and I look at the flair they've got on the side, and I say to myself, is Southgate going to give England a platform that allows these super talented front players, and when Kane's fit he'll be back in, is he going to allow them to just go and flourish and do what they do? Right. Or is he going to be more worried about every other aspect of the game? Well, and I think that comes through in the...
It's the latter.
Yeah, but you know, I saw this a little differently from Craig. And while I get the point that certainly England didn't create anywhere near enough opportunities against Brazil, you know, in a home game or be it a friendly, my feeling around watching England under Gareth Southgate is far too defensive. That they have a bank of 2 defensive midfielders who don't go anywhere, and then you rely on a front 3, which is usually Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Marcus Rashford, on a counter-attack. And once that breaks down, drop deep into your half, just outside your own box, yet again. And that, for me, was frustrating, given the talent at Southgate's disposal. Though, in this game today, and while, yes, you didn't get enough out of Foden, there wasn't enough creativity in and around the box, England's first line, certainly in possession, I thought was far higher up the park. You played Rice and Gallagher as the 2 defensive midfielders, and they naturally get forward. And you saw more attacking approach to England than I normally associate. Now, yes, they're missing a piece in terms of turning that starting line, finding that creativity in midfield to create chances. But it was nowhere near as pragmatic as I had become used to or I was expecting.
Oh, you set the bar low, maybe, Shane.
I'm not the one who set the bar low.
Yeah, and it's happening again, isn't it? England come up against half-decent opposition, they're rubbish.
Well, I could start by saying, like Craig, that's not like the Brazil team I scored my first international goal against, but I won't mention that. But what I did see at Wembley today, I'm with the boys that when you see Gareth Southgate's England, especially today, but they're winning a lot of games, we just won't take that away from them. It's a bit like lack of identity. You're not sure what they're doing. And if you play games like that, there was some bad defending there. A couple of times Maguire did mistakes at the back there. But I won't be that worried about that. I think when they come into the Euros, I think that kind of boring lack of identity kind of game that is at the moment, that will take him through the first rounds. Then it's all down to the individuals. How will the individuals perform when you get into the knockout stage? Remember, they were lacking some good players today, especially a Harry Kane. Yes, the Brazil team, a new kind of Brazil team, but I wouldn't be worried about England. The only thing I would be worried about, how will they do defensively? Because I think that way that Southgate is playing them, he's not there for entertainment, he's there to take them further. And we have to stop all this moaning about Gareth Southgate. I think Craig just preparing himself for Gareth Southgate being the Manchester United manager, by the way. But I think that we have to think of what do you need to get further in the tournaments. And I think then you will hope that one of the individual great players that England got, that they will have a great championship.
Yeah, and that's very positive.
Yeah, it is positive because I think that we are so easy to say, yeah, let's get a coach that play entertaining, let's go forward, just go for it.
They just lost against Brazil, who've been terrible.
They lost against Brazil in a game that wasn't, by the way, it was a good friendly. It was quite intense, especially the first half. Brazil was creating chances, but also making a lot of free kicks. So I wouldn't be worried at all if I was England. I think England will do brilliant in the championship.
Wow. All right. Jules, are you as optimistic after that?
Not really. Not quite. I mean, I'm not Southgate's biggest fan. I've had enough of him for a very long time now. And tonight I'm watching this game and I just don't see anything. And I know Shaka is not there and Kane is not there and they're two very important players. But to go along with what Craig was saying about Phil Foden, for example, let's just take Phil Foden as an example. For me, what Southgate is not good at doing, which is a big problem for me. Because I can understand what Jan is saying. Let's stay positive. They still have so much talent. They can do very well at the Euros. It's not all on this game. But take Foden just as an example. Maybe the best player, one of the best players in the Premier League right now. One of the top three in the Premier League right now in terms of form, right? He plays 90 minutes tonight. Do you know how many times he touched the ball in the Brazil box? Zero. Zero in 90 minutes. Playing right winger and number 10. He never touched the ball in the opposition box. So one of your best players, maybe tonight your most informed player, is kept away from the box, away from where you want him to be, in the danger area, the whole game. So there's no way he can influence the game, he can be decisive. There's just nothing. So how can you, a manager, and you look at your team, and I really hope Southgate will look at it and say, okay, this is wrong. We did something clearly wrong here to not put Foden in a position where he can actually influence the game, seeing how good he is and how in great form he's been so far. And of course you see Rice and Bellingham, but you just don't see anything that is actually improving with the ball, attacking wise for this team. Never, but it was the same the last two games in November. I remember being on the show, we said the same thing. It's too pedestrian, there's no rhythm, there's no patterns of play, there's just nothing, and they're not ruthless enough, all of that. Today they could have lost 3-0 easily. It could have been 3 or 4 easily. And yeah, it's just one, it's a late goal by Endrick, so we're going to say, okay, it's nothing. I think it's quite worrying, actually.
I think that was the other part of the problem, wasn't just the lack of getting those players. I mean, how many times did a ball fizz across the box and Ollie Watkins almost get in there and you thought, well, he almost... I don't remember at all. And here's a guy that loves to attack the ball in the box for the reasons we've all mentioned and Jules just touched on. But But, it's not just that. It's the worrying that it's worrisome for England and Southgate how easily they got opened up on the counter-attack. And I think performances like this, although it's England-Brazil and, it's on paper it's a close game, 1-0, as Jules said, it could have been 2 or 3, maybe more. I think this is the kind of performance that sends Southgate back into his worrisome double pivot midfield. Jordan Henderson, are you fit again? I need you to come in because, Declan Rice in there's not going to be enough. And if Conor Gallagher's going to try and support, if Declan Rice is going to have to... I think he's worried about Declan Rice having to cover all this ground and make up for the deficiencies of the defence.
Right.
And I think that's why he becomes super cautious and he thinks, right, I need to get somebody else in there. We go back to the cautious side of it. Even before the game, to me, only bringing Kobe Mino in at the last minute because there was an injury to Bukayo Saka, only bringing him in because of that tells you that he should have been in the squad even before the great performance at Old Trafford against Liverpool. He's done enough this season to say, it's a friendly. I don't need to see what Jordan Henderson can do. I don't know what we see what Conor Gallagher can do. But you come in here and I'll give you a little taste. I've been amongst the full squad. And yes, he got his debut, but he was going to be playing for the under-21s up until people withdrew from the team.
But if there is one thing that Gareth Southgate has done well, is to get the young players into an international stage. So that Mino, yes, I understand. We love him. We love to see him. But he's like 12, isn't he? So that put him in an under-21.
Well, he's 18 and the guy that scored the goal for Brazil was 17.
Absolutely, Craig. I'm with you on that one. We discussed this player now. And Gareth Southgate has done well at doing that. So that won't be the biggest problem. And who can go to the Euros anyway. So I don't think that is the toughest decision that Gareth Southgate had to do.
How has he done well at doing that? He couldn't help but pick the Bukayo Sakas, the Phil Fodens, all the Jude Bellingham.
So
he couldn't.
So he can never win them. So he could never win them because I'm that old that I remember some England managers with a high-profile name who were knocked out very early in all championship, and so he had to pick Beckham, he had to pick Scholes, he had to pick everybody. So that is the attitude to them. So a national coach can only pick them. So whatever the national coach do, then you have to find the same way of the arguments here, Craig.
This is the same argument, same discussion we have every time. Right. Is plodding through a tournament, and by the way, this is factual. The tournaments that they've done well in, the pathway has been relatively easy. Yeah, in the Euros, I think they did put Germany out. Wasn't the strongest Germany. But the pathway wasn't always the toughest. I think they were a little unlucky in the World Cup against France, if truth be told. Played well. Yep. Kane misses a penalty. Is what it is. But we have the constant discussion, this is one of the most exciting going forward group of young English players, and is he holding them back? Or is he the problem? Or is he part of the problem?
So in 1982, England had a great team. It was held back from the national coach. When the golden generation was playing, they were held back by all kind of managers. Today we are saying a big thank you to Liverpool, how they treated Sven-Göran Eriksson, by the way. So he was holding back the golden generation in England, Craig? It's only Sir Ralph Ramsey who didn't hold back their players?
I'm going to move on from England because I want to talk about Brazil a little bit, Jules. Obviously, they are in turmoil. Ancelotti's turned their back on him. Dorival Jr. seemed like a 5th or 6th pick. Yet, he goes to Wembley, gets a result, and it's a nice way to kick off, I suppose, what is inevitably going to be a transition time now for Brazil.
Yeah, I mean, he said before the game that it was going to be the greatest night of his life. I think that's what he said, to take charge of his country for the first time ever. I don't think that he ever thought that he could be in that position, and maybe he benefited from, as you said, the environment, Carlos saying no, the managers before not working out. But to be fair, tonight with a B team, let's put it that way, or certainly a makeshift defence, number 3 goalkeeper, if not maybe even number 4, yeah, you still had Paqueta and Bruno Guimaraes and the front three that was obviously outstanding. But to do that with all the injuries that he had, I thought was really good. Yeah, they're not perfect yet. Yes, it's his first time. He had an extended squad at his disposal, but I thought they did well. And we said they could have won by more. They deserve to win 100%. Endrick's goal is obviously a very special moment, but so is this first win for Dorival Jr. And let's not forget, 3 defeats in the last 3 games, 4 games in a row without win, because before that it was a draw as well. And for, like you said, Dan, a very important few months now to the Copa America, to watch an Olympic game without Brazil, by the way. So it's not just even the A team, the under 21 or 23 didn't do well, were knocked out by Argentina at the Olympic tournament. So they're not even going to be in Paris, where it's a tournament where they used to win as well. So it was very important tonight, I think, to start the Dorival Juniors era with a good performance and a good win like this, to get a bit of momentum going. They will play Spain next week. We'll see what happens. A Spain team that was not really good against Colombia yesterday. So it'll be very interesting.
What was interesting, just before we went on air, Jules, you were saying if you were Real Madrid, you wouldn't bother spending all this money on Mbappe and just groom Endrick to be the superstar.
Very important. You saw how much that meant to him, of course. I mean, he's a prodigy. He's so mature for his age already. I think all Real Madrid fans and people in Europe can be very excited that he's coming soon to Europe and see his development. I don't think we should get too carried away either, but tonight, by the goal, it will take him some time to adapt to Europe. We see, Vitor Roque, for example, at Barcelona. Those young players, even when Vinicius and Rodrigo arrived to Europe, it took them a bit of time. So he won't hit the ground running straight away, but certainly the qualities that he showed in Brazil and a little bit tonight as well look pretty outstanding.
It's every Brazilian boy's dream, isn't it?
It's not bad, is it? Would you say?
No, I'm tongue-in-cheek. Scoring in the debut. Was it his debut?
No, it wasn't. His first goal.
First goal, 17 at the
No,
Mecca.
he'd had a cup before.
At the Mecca of football, Wembley. Every Brazilian young boy
wait,
dreams of that.
scoring.
Youngest ever
What do you mean
goal scorer at
Wembley is a
Wembley, by the
Mecca,
way.
surely?
The Mecca, 3-1 England to win the Euros. Who makes this stuff up?
Well, the bookies do, because obviously...
Well, the bookies are making it up.
Can I just have one more word? Because you said to me when you saw Endrick play, he's not shy, is he? Like, for a 17-year-old, he
He'd fit in well here, wouldn't he?
Well, I don't know.